Hello, my name is Will Dean. I am the Forest author, and today I want to talk to you about how you can get a literary agent. Welcome back. I hope you're well. Please do click subscribe and like this video if you enjoy it. Today I want to talk about literary agents because I remember very vividly what it's like being in the query trenches and getting rejected. You know, I was over here in the middle of a moose forest. I'd written a book. This was 5-6 years ago, and I was sending out to slush piles. I didn't have any contacts, like all of you will be in the same boat. And I was getting rejections coming through, you know, in the mail and by email. And every single one of those rejections is kind of like a little dagger to the heart. And at the same time, all writers get rejected throughout their career in some shape or another. So it's something you have to get used to. It's something that makes you stronger. But it can be so kind of devastating to your confidence and to your hope that you give in or people give in. And I don't want that to happen. I want you to, wait a second. Monty has blessed us with his. A minor wound which requires some cleaning. Clean. The weird thing there is that Monty never attacks, he never bites, he never scratches, but he is camera shy, I guess, so yeah. But he's well, Monty's well, Bernie's well. It was 33 degrees here yesterday in the forest, and our well is getting very dry, which is not good. But today it's raining, thank goodness, so I'm happy about that. But back to literary agents. If you're a writer and you want to be published, either by a small indie press or by a huge commercial publisher, you're going to need a literary agent. There are a few people I know who don't have them, and they do really well. That's amazing. But I think I would advise you to get an agent. They are looking after your best interest. Your interests are aligned at all times. And not only do they set up deals for you, and do they often read your manuscript before it goes on submission, but they're also there in a way, as kind of a business partner or almost a mentor. They are there for you to ask questions. And that's very valuable because publishing can be a bit of a closed shop. It can be a bit intimidating like that. It certainly was for me. Going back to when I was submitting to slush piles, I was very intimidated. I didn't know how publishing worked. I never met an agent or an editor. So, in my opinion, agents are essential. But my role now as a published author, I've had 3 books come out so far. I've got 2 books coming out next year. I think I kind of have a bit of a duty or responsibility to make these videos and to try and help all of you to realize your potential and get an agent and navigate your way through the murky waters of publishing, because it is such a strange and closed world. You know, I studied law years ago, and law is a bit like that. It's a bit closed, it's a bit intimidating. But here's how you get an agent. The first thing, and this sounds very obvious and flippant, but it's not, is to write a great book. And the key to writing a great book is, I mean, who knows, but it's kind of reading extremely widely, I think, is a huge part of it. Reading inside your genre and outside of your genre, reading books written 100 years ago, books that came out last week, reading books by authors who are clearly better than you are. That's what I try and do. I hone my craft. I work on my storytelling through reading writers who are better than I am. So you need to read very widely. There are no shortcuts here. There are no best-selling authors who write their own books who don't read widely or who haven't read widely. It just doesn't happen. You need to understand how a story is put together. You need to have that feeling for how for the important kind of factors in any story, whether it's a short story or it's an enormous trilogy saga. You need to understand the importance of conflict and the importance of resolution and the importance of characterization, setting, sense of place, pacing, that kind of thing. And you can break rules as much as you want to. I would encourage it, but you need to know the rules before you break the rules. You can't just wing this and start writing a novel and it be amazing. It won't be amazing. You might think it's amazing. You might send it to somebody with a load of like non-disclosure agreements, confidentiality. It's not amazing. That's the Monty wound. Just don't do it. You need to read very widely. That's number one. Read widely for years and years and years and years and years. If you're not reading widely now, start. You can read audio books, you can read Kindle, you can read physical books, you can read whatever you want, but you need to start reading more. Read more. Must apologize for the lockdown hair. I do not get out of the forest. This is getting quite wild. I'm tempted to shave it off. Read widely. Stephen King talks about this on Writing, which I recommend. It's a brilliant book. Sacrifice stuff. Sacrifice whatever you need to sacrifice to read more. If you normally like to listen to music in the car, listen to podcasts in the car, scrap all of that and start listening to audiobooks. If you normally like to read magazines in the hospital waiting room or when you're waiting to have your hair cut, stop that, take a book with you. Read that. Read a book on your phone, on your Kindle, take a paperback with you. Sacrifice your TV time, your gaming time, whatever it is. We didn't have a TV for 4 years on purpose so that I could read more. And it made a huge difference. And you never know the book. You read 100 books a year, you never know which one is going to be the one that pushes you forward as a writer. They're all going to push you forward incrementally, but 1 or 2 a year are going to give you a leap forward where something clicks and you understand something. And that helps your storytelling. So important. Read widely. Second thing is, you have to come to writing with a few different frames of mind. One is being an artist, like the actual art of creating a story, getting it down there, making it beautiful, making it strong. That is an art in itself. It takes discipline, it takes luck, it takes skill, it takes time, it takes sweat and whatever, but that is the art part of it. But then there is the kind of professional part of it and the business side of it, if you like. And that is relevant when it comes to finding an agent, signing with an agent. An agent does not want to work with someone who's an absolute nightmare to work with. So try, when you're writing your cover letter, when you're writing your synopsis, when you are on social media, when you meet agents at events, try to come across always as professional, as courteous, as business-like, because it's a business relationship. You know, you'll probably end up being really good mates with your agent. That's the dream. Some authors do, some authors don't, and it always stays business-like. It doesn't really matter. But even if you become mates with your agent, you're also going to have that business relationship. You're going to be negotiating contracts together. You're going to be going out on submission together. You're going to be talking about the future direction of your career together. So be the artist when you're writing the book, and be kind of professional author when you're putting yourself out there on social media or you're approaching agents at events. You can do both things. And that leads me on to the next thing, which is being professional when it comes to your submission package. Submission packages are really important. Go through my videos. I talk through how to write a cover letter. I talk through how to write a synopsis, but I will do some more on that and break those down even more, because I think If you are in the query trenches and you do not know how to do those things, and you're not from that world, and I wasn't from that world, I didn't know anybody, I didn't know any writers, I didn't know any agents, I didn't know how to do this thing, then I want to give you some kind of guidance so you can put together a killer submission package which agents will notice. And let me give you a few bullet points on submission packages, on querying agents. It needs to be really succinct. Agents have no time. So it needs to be very, very concise and pared down. I think a cover letter should be 1 page maximum. I think a synopsis, if possible, should be 1 page maximum. And your sample chapters, follow the agent's instructions, their guidelines, whether it's 30 pages or 10,000 words or 1,000 words, or the first 3 chapters, whatever that is. And follow their guidelines and make sure those pages, that writing is as good as it possibly can be. So your submission package should kind of wake up an agent. They should read it and they should get that email come through, and it'll take them a few seconds to read your cover letter. They'll just scan through it. If there are no red flags raised there, you know, if they can see that it's, okay, you mentioned the title, the genre, maybe the word count, you give a little blurb, a little 3, 4, 5 line blurb, kind of like you would see on the back of a published novel, something selling the book. If you can make that as impactful as possible, that's brilliant. And then a little bit about yourself, for a couple of lines, something about you've done some writing course, or you are a big fan of another author that they represent, something like that. Should be really succinct and concise, and it should lead that agent to reading your sample chapters. And here's another thing, don't spend too much time perfecting the cover letter, making it the strongest cover letter that has ever been written, and neglect the first 3 chapters. Like that first line of your book, that first paragraph, that first page, the end of that first chapter, these things are incredibly important. That stuff is more important than the cover letter. You can make mistakes in the cover letter, and the agent, if there's enough good stuff in there, will move to your sample chapters. But your sample chapters, just rewrite them, get readers, ask your mum to read it. That can sometimes be useful. Probably most of the time it's not, to be honest. She's going to say it's amazing. Get a friend to read it, get a published author to read it if you know one well and they have time. Get an independent editor to read it, editorial consultant, something like that. But just put that package together so it's so strong, and then send it out there, and then keep writing the next book. But here's the most important thing. Do not lose confidence when those rejections come through, because they will. I got rejected, I don't know, hundreds of times before I found an agent. It's no reflection on you. It's no reflection on your work. It is 100% inevitable. Expect 100 rejections. Expect 100 rejections. And then when you're on rejection 23, and it comes through your email, sorry, you get a standard form rejection. Do not let that knock your confidence, because you're on your way to 100. You are on your way. It's a bit of a mind trick, but it worked for me. You're on your way to 100. Rejection 55. A lot of people maybe quit at that point. You don't, because you know you've got 45 rejections still expected to come through. So just keep at it. Keep pushing forwards. The hardest thing is writing the book. So being rejected can be psychologically very challenging and difficult, but just keep pushing through there. And eventually that cover letter, that blurb, that title, that synopsis, that opening line of your book, it will click with an agent, and they will want to ask. They will ask you if they can read the rest of your book. That is a full request, and that is like gold dust, and you want one of those. And then you've got the chance for that agent to fall in love with your prose and fall in love with your storytelling and offer you representation. And that's a whole other video about how to deal with that offer. But I hope this has been a useful little introduction to how to find a literary agent. I'll go into more detail in future videos. I'm going to talk more about cover letters and synopsis and your sample chapters, and talk more about social media. I'm going to talk more about the querying process, and then the submission process, i.e. when you're on submission with your agent to editors, which is even more terrifying. I hope this is useful. Thank you very much for watching. Will Dean, Forest Author. Subscribe, like the video. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.